Since 1959, Greeks at Sam Houston State University have paved the way for thousands of students looking for that home away from home while attending college. For 60 years, traditions and opportunities have been created by some of the most esteemed Greek members and have helped SHSU become well known for its motto, "The measure of its life is its service."
In 1956, there were 4 prominent male social clubs at SHSU: the Esquires, the Ravens, the Dons, and the Caballeros. The Caballeros were the first group to establish the first fraternity alumni organization after 11 years of existing, and this later helped them become a national organization within Sigma Chi fraternity in the fall of 1961. Johnny R. Ragsdale, Lee Drain, and Dan Rather were original founding members of the Caballeros, and each have a campus building dedicated in their name.
In 1957, the SHSU Interfraternity Council was established and held their first IFC smoker event on February 5th in the Student Union building. This kicked off Rush Week for all the male clubs at SHSU.
The Esquires become Delta Tau Delta and the first nationally recognized fraternity at SHSU. Later came the Dons, which became nationally affiliated with Alpha Tau Omega fraternity, and then the Ravens with Kappa Alpha Order in 1960.
In 1959, many women's social clubs at SHSU started to also become affiliated with national organizations, and on April 25th, 1959, the Delta Mu chapter of Alpha Delta Pi was born from the Caroline Belvin Literary Society,
and the Gamma Rho chapter of Kappa Delta was formed from the Louis Women's Social Club, and thus becoming the first national Greek organizations at SHSU. Many founding members of these chapters were also involved in other campus organizations like the SHSU Orange Keys, which are still active today.
The next organization to convert nationally was the Philomethian Literary Society, later becoming Zeta Tau Alpha, on May 16, 1959. The Ann Gibbs Women's Club became Delta Zeta on September 11, 1959.
The Eclectic Social Society became Alpha Chi Omega on September 26, 1959. Today, the SHSU Panhellenic Council is the largest women's organization on campus.
During Bearcat Week in December of 1959, the soon-to-be Sigma Chi's and Alpha Chi Omegas joined forces to build a homecoming float, which would be entitled Progress of Plenty. It was a giant cornucopia adorned with large Greek letters, and the float won all-round trophy. During homecoming week, these 2 groups hosted their annual soap fight, which added to campus festivities.
April 12, 1960, Sigma Chi hosted their very first fight night in the men's gym. The fighters were fed at the historic Cafe Texan. Judges of the boxing match were the presidents of the other fraternities on campus. This remains as one of the oldest traditions in SHSU Greek history.
The spring of 1961 brought 2 more IFC fraternities, Pi Kappa Alpha and the Scouts, eventually joined Sigma Phi Epsilon, which was established nationally.
12 years later, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated became the first NPHG fraternity on SHSU's campus on April 14, 1973, ushering a new era for SHSU Greek community.
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Inc. followed with their membership processes later that year, creating the SHSU National Panhellenic Council. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated became the first Black Greek sorority later the same month. 2 years later, in 1975, SHSU saw its first Black Greek Week.
On November 15, 1992, Kappa at Delta Chi Sorority Incorporated became the first multicultural Greek organization to join SHSU's Greek community, paving the way for Latino students all across campus.
Today, in 2019, the SHSU Greek community is stronger than ever, donning 30 Greek chapters with over 1,200 students that make up over 7% of our campus community.
Today's SHSU Greeks contribute over 31,000 community service hours per year and have donated over $380,000 to various local and national charities.
Every step of the way for the past 60 years, SHSU Greeks have lit the way for this campus and its development into the future for years to come.
We are leaders.
We are influencers.
We are the Bearcats.
Here's to 60 years into another 60 more. Eat 'em up, cats.